is a Monday. It's freezing. It feels like forever since Liverpool have been in action. It's the Anfield Wrap in association with Redsbet, and we've got Lizzi Doyle, Andy Heaton, James McKenna, and James Sutton. Lads, what have you all been up to, and lass, without the Reds in action?
Singular. I've just been freezing, really. I'm wondering when the footy's coming back, but I've been quite happy with the fact that our lads have had a rest. So I'm selfishly, I've really not liked not having the footy, but I'm happy that they've had a nice little recharge, a little massage, maybe a cup of tea and a biscuit. So not much. I'm literally just edging for Wednesday now.
James, you've been up to quite a bit, haven't you?
I've been super busy. Yeah, I'm doing my first ever national tour of a play, and I'm going to plug it now. And you've got no choice because I've got a microphone in front of me. It's called Caroline's Kitchen. It's a black comedy by an incredible writer called Torben Betts, who's been likened to Alan Ayckbourn. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever been part of, and it's wonderful. We've just spent 5 days in Derby, sunny Derby, which has actually been a lot warmer than up here, I believe. Having a lot of fun. I've done 5 shows there. We are off to Cambridge next week, and then we are doing the length and breadth of the country, taking in such dizzy heights as Bath and Eastbourne. And we come to Liverpool. We're doing the Everyman in Liverpool, the 19th to the 23rd of February. There are a few tickets still available, and I'd love everybody to come and see it because it is, if I do say so myself, an absolute hoot.
I probably should actually add that this is Melissa Reddy. It's not Neil Atkinson suddenly having such withdrawal symptoms from Liverpool not playing that he's ended up sounding like this. Andy, have you been chefing or?
No, well, I've done a bit of Denise.
I've done a bit.
No, I've mainly been trying to familiarise myself with the jargon of really long and in-depth, boring UEFA documents for something I'm working on.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And reading's not really my strong point either. Big words and anything over 5 letters, kind of glaze over. But I'm getting there. To be continued.
Mine's nowhere near as exciting as UEFA. Mine's been dealing with the wonderful ways of LFC and how they treat supporters who are getting banned, which is far from delightful, and that would be a podcast on its own. Hopefully, we're getting a bit better on some of that.
Maybe one for another day.
Yeah, for another day. There is we are putting something out today as of Monday, just saying to people what it works. Because I think there was some echo reports last week about a fan who'd been banned and he took it to the football ombudsman, and that one, it looks like, is resolved, but number of issues. Never ends being a football supporter there.
Oh, Jay, you love it. Come on.
Oh, I didn't say I don't love it. I'm just saying it never ends.
No.
I know, for us, it's a bit of a blag not having Liverpool to watch, but for the team it must have been really good, because I think beyond the physical aspect of it, we probably gloss over how mentally draining it can be to be in a title challenge where, you've got the most points at the stage of a season, and yet you've got this relentless City challenge behind you, and the contrast from the start of the season where, regardless of everything Liverpool were doing, it just felt like it wasn't good enough because they were still only second, and that reversal where now the chase has become the chase. Lizzie, do you think it would have benefited them greatly?
Yeah, not half. When City played the other day, the second leg against Burton, and it was the day that it was really icy and freezing cold, and it literally sort of taps into that Tuesday night at Stoke that we always used to talk about. And what I was thinking is when I saw the team sheet and you see Aguero was starting, Mahrez was starting, there's a couple of lads on the bench who maybe didn't get the game but still had to be ready if they were to come on. And I was just thinking, mentally, obviously I know footballers want to play football, but imagine being 9-0 up in a semi-final, in you're going into the second leg, it's freezing cold, and Aguero thinks, bloody hell, I've got to start here and I've got to play. That doesn't do any good for them. And then they had the FA Cup as well. So I look at the difference. The reason I'm drawing on City is because the second, obviously, and they've had a couple more games than us. Whereas, like I say, Liverpool can sit back and think, you know what, lads, we haven't got another game till Wednesday, and sort of just take that time for themselves to just, like you say, have a little bit of a relax. And, because in between training in the week, I don't know how much time they have to sort of unwind. Whereas this has given them quite a nice break to probably go off and do a little couple of things that they want to do, and will probably bring them back in a nice mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I know it wasn't by design, but if you could have picked a time to go on a break after what happened to Palace, it would be that. Be that one, just to regroup and one thing, because I'm not saying they looked ragged, but you could see it over December and January where we've been playing every couple of days and we just looked a little bit stretched and a little bit exhausted. You can regroup. Lizzi's just touched on a really interesting point there about what footballers do outside the training, and the answer is generally nothing. They sit in their houses on their own. So maybe with them being away and being not forced to be together, but they're spending time with the teammates that they wouldn't naturally do, naturally be doing so much. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, look, touch wood, it's done them the benefit of good, but you can see the reasons why it would do. We just need to get out there on Wednesday night now against Leicester and show how good the break's been for them, I think.
Yeah. James, it's also the element of getting out of the bubble, because when you are playing all the time and you're in this consistent, battle to stay at the top, everything is consumed by what's happening next. You don't actually get the chance to relax, reflect, recharge, and all those, because it's just go, 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 go. Whereas now you can look back and, think of how far you've come together as a team, but also importantly, everyone can have that fire in them for the determination to carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we don't know what it's like for the players, to be top of the table. We don't know what how the pressure feels to them. It must be exhausting, as much as they proclaim in interviews and on the website and stuff that they take each game as it comes, and there's it's all very fine, it's all fine and well, and there's a big squad and we've got depth and all this sort of stuff. It must be stressful being top of the league, and every time you go out in Liverpool having people shouting at you and celebrating you, it must be exhausting. So just to get away and just, like you say, just recharge and just take have a bit of fun as well, because this gang of lads, this season especially, they've been so professional, they've been so committed, everyone's giving 110% for the cause. So yeah, just go and have a nice time, have some fun, come back with a smile on your face and batter Leicester on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I think if you're a Liverpool player, you've just been able to have life for a bit and just go away and train, deal with some knocks. I think it'll benefit the team in terms of players who've had a knock at a game, that we haven't had to try and shuffle the pack and risk injuries. They've been away and trained. We've seen the stuff, bits of footage online of the players training. So I think it's almost that it's a breather for fans as well. Everyone was getting tense during that Palace game. I'd imagine they spent a bit of time in the pub calling numerous players fit to burn. So it's probably just a step back for them, where you're like, all right, now I'll take a step back and I'll go and enjoy it again. Because I think one of the really noticeable things is, I think fans are getting very excited by what could possibly happen. But I think we were almost not feeling like we were there and the fans were there ready to expect it. But fans were getting very close very quickly, and that run in December, and then you sort of try and make yourself feel better about the Man City result, and then you play Palace and you're thinking, and the way I had them fixtures after Man City was like, all right, if we win these 4, then we see where we're at. But there was a period where even I was in my own head thinking, well, okay, if we lose this point here, still a point, okay, what games have they got to play? It's like, you can really wear yourself out.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting as a fan. You're thinking of permutations. So for all of us, it's good to just take a step back. The FA Cup's happened, we've been able to sort of watch football idly and see what's happening, maybe thinking to yourself, people have talked about Man City and like, oh, they've won the last 4 games, 28-0. It's like, yeah, and they played, teams by and large that, they should be beaten by them scorelines you'd expect if they're on the day. So they've had to come out and prove a point. Has that put a bit in their legs that they wanted to prove a point and have maybe used up a bit of energy or, some goals? And Man City are a team that can score goals non-stop, but, how fanciful would it be that if, they go to Newcastle and struggle to get a goal, their fans will be sitting there and they'll be in our shoes almost thinking, bloody hell, I wish we'd have saved some of them goals for Burton for these kind of things. So, I think that break's just good for everyone to go now to Leicester and think, right, we've just got to go and do our job, see what City do, but just go and do our job, and then have the next few, and then that next few will get us to a point where, we get to Bayern Munich and we're excited, we have another break. It's like, all right, well, we get through this period now, few games, it's broken down. It's like a school term, really, isn't it? If you're a teacher and you're thinking to yourself, all you're thinking is the summer, the goal of the summer and finishing, you're breaking it down into 6 weeks. You're thinking, right, come back after Christmas. All right, I've got 4 or 5 weeks. I've got this in the middle of it. You're breaking it down by milestone, and I think that breaks a good thing for Liverpool to do, and the one to come is a bit of milestone plan. Just okay, we've got to do this before the next one. Then we see what comes next and see where we are.
The contrast you speak of there is actually something to pick up on because, while we spoke about the team being in a bubble week by week, I think, fans themselves can be in a bubble of only thinking about what's beneficial to your own team. And when you look at City, fatigue is a thing. It eventually does catch up to you. But at the moment, they are swaggering through their fixtures. And in terms of confidence, because they, in December, took a massive psychological sledgehammer to what they thought they were and how they perceived their season to go. And so for them to be passing through these fixtures with such ease, but also, statements every single time they go out, regardless of the opposition, will be doing them a world of good as well.
Yeah, and I think it's like I think it was Jay said, they're coming out and saying all these things, all the players about, we're not looking at City, we're not bothered about City, and I understand why they're saying it, but the human beings who will be looking at them and comparing themselves to City, because we're in a title challenge with possibly one of the best teams we've seen in England, and what you were saying about putting more minutes in the legs of City, I think now they've got a couple of fixtures rearranged because of the FA Cup, with them going through in this round, and I think with Man United going through, that then rearranges the Manchester derby, I'm not too sure. So that's another little thing for them to keep thinking about, and it's really, we know football is mainly physical, but the mental side of it, I think, is really not talked about enough, because you think of yourself in work when you think you've just got day after day, you've got stuff to do, and it just doesn't stop. That's their equivalent, is game after game. It's constantly thinking about the next thing, and the injuries haven't really helped. And I think, like we said, the break has come at such a good time where people were talking about a crisis with centre halves, and then obviously the midfield was a little bit here and there. But now hopefully the hysteria around it has calmed down a little bit, and this is like another run of games. I think you leave that one that's just gone, you leave Palace behind, you've got it, that's done, switch off, block, next one, look at the next couple of games and treat it as a little block. I think treating them in little blocks, is easier to manage for the players.
It'll keep the fans sane. Keeps fans sane. There's every chance you can get thingy. But again, whilst I think Liverpool maybe have applied that logic, or I'm certainly applying it, I think those questions have to come to City's mind at some point. I think they've been somewhat fortunate by getting Burton and then the teams they've got in the FA Cup so far. At some point, City face a choice. I think, they get to February, March, and they're thinking, okay, we're still in, we've won the League Cup, I imagine. They're thinking to themselves, tight title race, hopefully still for us. Champions League draw could be beneficial to them. They get through the next round, which you'd expect them to.
Yeah, but they've got Schalke as well.
And then they're in a quarter-final, and it's like, well, okay, they could get a decent draw, and they think to themselves, we can fancy this. Are the players starting to apply that pressure themselves? Because then City are no longer thinking about, we're in a tough title race. City are thinking, we could do the quadruple, we could do the treble, we could do a whole host of things, and that will force decisions in Guardiola's mind. So that, I think it comes back to that point about taking the blocks. I think we've just got to take that block and almost, to use what's happening in Brexit at the minute, run down the clock a bit. Just run down the clock. Let's get us closer to a point where City have to make some decisions, and I think our fate will be affected. I don't buy this whole thing of it's in our hands kind of thing. I know it is technically, but we're going to drop points. If we win every single game between now and the end of the year, then all right, Sam, we deserve to win the league. Absolutely, no questions asked. But I think, is any fan really expecting us to do that?
But
no.
Jay,
but if City then drop points because they've had to make things, you'll think, well, okay, well, that's fine, we still got that same, but you'll feel better about it.
If our margin for error is thin, then City's is a lot thinner.
Yeah.
It's very easy to project your negative thoughts onto yourself and what could go wrong, could go right. Man City have pretty much got to be perfect.
Yeah.
Unless we collapse, Man City have got to be perfect. And what is interesting, what you referenced there is, as much as City fans broadly would be the opposite, if you spoke to if you give Guardiola the opportunity to pick one of the two now, if you said to him, right, you're going to win what? You're either going to win the European Cup or you're going to win the league.
Absolutely.
Not just Guardiola,
Cup,
but City. Everyone involved at City will pick the European Cup.
I think he does because he hasn't won it for God knows how many years.
Oh yeah, and at some,
sounds mad because he's won it loads, but you know what I mean.
at some point, I mean, they've got more away games than we have as well on the run. At some point, I don't care how rich their squad is, they've still got a first 11, right? Do you agree with that?
Yep.
They've still got a first 11, so I don't care how brilliant their squad is outside the first. They've still got a first 11, which means by proxy, the players coming in aren't as good as the ones that they're replacing.
Yeah, but my thing's less what they do. You know, I think City will do whatever they're going to do, but I just think you've got to give them decisions to make, kind of thing. You've got to give them something to do, and I think, you know, that's my thing. If we get through to, you know, it could be anyone else chasing us. We've seen this with United in 2009.
But City have got to run out of roads at some point.
No,
right?
absolutely. But what I'm saying is, that's why I'm advocating this idea of taking them down into blocks. If Liverpool get through to mid-February and we're coming up to Bayern Munich and we've won them games and the buffer's still 4, City or whoever's chasing you still has to answer them questions. They still have to say to themselves, well, where do we go? And that then changes the dynamic of it. And I think it comes to this break again. Having the break we've just had probably lets our fans just say, well, I can just concentrate on the next 3. So we'll play Leicester, then we play West Ham. And then they'll all start building up and getting excited again. Because I think everyone's looking at this thinking, right, I think we should beat Leicester. But you never know with the Palace game, man. We beat Leicester, hopefully. You then go to West Ham and you think, oh, no, that could be a different game. Then we beat West Ham. And then they'll get excited for the game after, and then there'll be a break. So then we get to just like let a bit of air out of the balloon again, let everyone back down. You know, I feel like I'm a psychologist for fans, but I think that's good for us because I think that excitement will boil over, and that's where the players will be thinking about it. But then it just lets everyone take a step back, stop, think about Bayern Munich, get excited about the European Cup again, the league business will take it, and then suddenly we're just in the stride of, well, we're just taking this, you know, step by step. But Man City are now having to think, well, if I take this step, it means this for that. We won't have that.
You talk about the psychological aspect of the pressure on, as much as the pressure's on us to win, the pressure on City's one trying to say to you, is far greater.
Which it comes down to expectations, doesn't it? And you know, for a City fan and for a City manager, you know, the expectation is we need to win the league, and more importantly, we need to win that Champions League. There's that level of investment, that level on ground level with their stadium, with their with their training ground, with their players, the outlay on wages. Make no mistake, that's so they can win that Champions League. And for us, I'm not saying for a second that Jurgen Klopp or the club doesn't value the Champions League this season. It's all about the league. We know that. They know that. So psychologically for City, you know, having such a huge amount of points that they have and still being behind us is an enormous amount of pressure to be on them. And they're looking at their Champions League fixtures as well and thinking that's, you know, so they're spreading their squad a lot thinner. Their fixture list a lot thinner than we are.
I think as well something that we don't speak about enough, especially as Liverpool fans, is luck. Like, don't be fooled. I think City are one of the very few teams that have won the Premiership through sheer talent and you know, thoroughly deserving it. Look at what Man United done for years under Ferguson. You know, Chelsea have done it. You need luck. And whilst we've sat here and spoke about City for, you know, the first part of the show, it does feed into this idea of luck. So, you know, City dropping those points is luck. And you need that on your side, and at the minute there's been a couple of decisions that have gone Liverpool's way. Whether they should or shouldn't have is a different question, but you need that on your side usually to win a league. You know, I'm like Jay. I can't see us going the whole season without dropping any more points. I can't see us, you know, absolutely blathering the league. But then hopefully luck goes in our favour, and I'm not saying you have to absolutely hold on to that, but it really, really, you know, it does you well.
But it is why I think you need to manage it, and I think fans need to manage their own expectations with these breaks and stuff like that, because I do think, though the expectation is City would win these things, and for some fans they'll still have them as the favourites, given all the stats and the way we've played so far, and people looking at, like Andy said there, you know, you've got to rely on them to be perfect. Liverpool don't look like they're going to be as imperfect as City would need them to be. That then becomes an expectation. No team's ever had the amount of points Liverpool have had at the turn of the season and not won the league. You know, there's the only teams who've been top at Christmas and not won it us. There is an expectation.
Aren't we about 15 points better off than Leicester were at this point when they won the league?
God knows.
But
there is a thing now. I think we're in most people's minds, even our darkest recesses, if you won't admit it, anyone who comes on this podcast who's like, no, I'm not thinking Liverpool are going to win the league. They're blind. They definitely thought Liverpool are going to win the league. They're just trying to control it and temper it. And I think that expectation is now there on the players. They're now seeing it's available, and not even that's a possibility, but thinking we could realistically throw this, and that brings an expectation that, well, no, this isn't.
But you can embrace that though.
Yeah. Can I say the difference for me, having been here for 2013-14 and being around the players and working with them and being around this group, 2013-14 was very giddy, was very emotional, was very Liverpool are not in control of anything. It's like things were in control of Liverpool, i.e. just the feeling around the place and everything. It was so easy to get swept up by all that, not just from a supporter perspective, but from the way the club were at that stage. And people put this on Brendan Rodgers, and it wasn't only him, it was all the way through. And even, Stephen, he wanted to win it so badly that it became about, oh my God, we have to win this for Stephen. When's he going to have another child? So many factors were at play. Whereas this group are so calm and composed, and they don't feel that it's luck or, oh my gosh, look at us, we're in a title race. They're like, we are in this title race because of the way we are, because of how good we are. And I think they do embrace, Andy, you said you can embrace it. I think they absolutely do. I don't think it's not the pressure of being top. It's just that it's relentless, the way the season is shaping up. But I think Virgil van Dijk absolutely loves being top of the league. So does Alisson. So do all of them, and they want to stay there. But Liverpool can only control what they can control, and next is Leicester. What we got from Dubai was a mixed set of injury news with regards to Trent, Ginny, Joe Gomez, Dan Lovren, and then Friday, Virgil van Dijk and Fabinho didn't train due to illness, but Fabinho also picked up what seemed to be like a hamstring issue or something against Palace. So we seem to have the centre-back crisis averted, because you've now got Joel Matip and Lovren fit to play together. But now there seems to be an issue at right back. Who are you playing at right back, Andy?
I don't know. You know what? I know he got tested, but I think it's easy to forget that Wilf Zaha's actually a very, very good player.
Yeah, he's suspended though, James Milner.
Play James Milner, can you?
Oh God, yeah. There you go. We have got a problem.
We
He got tested. There's going to be really testing for him to mark their wingers from the stand.
Are you fit, Jay?
I'm left-footed, mate, so it's sad for me.
I could never ever tell me you're equally bad with both, so.
I know.
I know.
Jay was only going to play centre-back alongside Virgil. That's it.
Virgil's sick. I'm not, couldn't possibly.
If Lovren's there, I think the answer's possibly Fabinho, isn't it?
If Fabinho's not fit though, with
3 at the back,
I think he'll be all right.
Or Camacho. You might have to go with Camacho. I think he has to put his faith in him. I think you go 3 at the back, you're changing something that's worked pretty much whole season.
Van Dijk's played with illnesses before, and he said something. There was one earlier this season where he said he'd had like a bit of a cold. Like, mate, colds don't matter to people like you.
Yeah, I don't
you
think
don't get sick.
I don't think there's an issue at centre back at all, because you've got Van Dijk and then you've got Lovren or Matip, and when Van Dijk, when he can't play against Bayern, you've got those 2 centre backs back. We've seen Fabinho actually play really well at centre half. I'd actually be more inclined to play him there than see Lovren and Matip together, but that's just me. But yeah, for right back, if Fabinho's not fit, as James Milner suspended, no Trent.
Lizzie's nailed it.
Camacho.
It's only, don't touch wood, don't want to curse it, saying it's only Leicester, but do you know what I mean? You shouldn't be worrying that your right back's going to cost you the game against Leicester City at Anfield. So, and you've also got I don't know, we picked up an injury, so I don't know whether he's fit or not, but you've got Hover as well, who could possibly come in, because he's actually normally a right back, not a centre half, even though we played centre half against Wolves. Didn't disappoint himself. Or, as Jay said, you could go 3 at the back. And then you've that just... But now, I don't know. Maybe
what's the expectation that Van Dijk won't be available?
No, I think Van Dijk... I think there's no question mark over Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk plays,
I think you do the 3 at the back and put Camacho right wing back kind of thing, and just give him a chance to... he's got centre-halves to cover him. Players who can talk him through a game kind of thing. I think, if not Fabinho, he's playing right back, he plays for Brazil, but it's... I think you'd expect, with the way, if we can as long as we have a strong enough midfield, that we could manage a game against Leicester kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Manage our way through, because we're going to have to. I think this is the other point about, you know, we can and on, worry and stress about these things. I think it wouldn't be great to be City and stuff like that. We've got to, we can't, like, we're not going to magic a right back before now and then. I think you've got to say to yourselves, we've got to do this. You know, greatest respect in the world, John Flanagan was playing right back in the season. We nearly won the league last time. So, you know, I think we can figure out a way to do it with the players we've got, to say to a young lad, listen, you know, if we need you to, we're going to help you.
This plays into the psychology thing we were talking about 5 minutes ago, though. You can obsess yourself with small details. And I think you can wind yourself up so much over it when actually it's right back.
Firmino played there when Milner got sent off.
Yeah.
You could literally stick Bobby
To be
Firmino
fair,
there.
mate, I think Jurgen Klopp was going to kill him. There was one.
Did you see?
He starts getting up to the halfway line. I think Jurgen's just, I think like Klopp's just staring at him as he's thinking, my luck's going to
You could
attract
see
your
the
attention.
vein in his head.
And then he just like screams at him. And like the best bit was Bobby Firmino tries to like explain what he was doing. I was like, mate, we're down to 10 men and I've just put you right
and
back.
he's trying to
I don't
join the
need you
counter.
to tell me that.
Just stand there.
Just go back there. And he's like, and then he trains up his back like a school kid. He said, shouted that.
So
Yeah, I don't think he's right back.
it's another small defensive shuffle that's going to happen. But I think one of the things that will have taken place in Dubai, amidst all the recharging and stuff, was the guys would have, you know, spoken about Palace, and despite the changes at the back, letting them score 3, it would have, because their standards are so high. And again, with another change, I think they'll be quite conscious of, we have to go back to being stable. The foundation is to keep it tight, James.
Yeah, and you're asking a lot of, you know, of Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum as well to perhaps sit a little bit further back and protect them and go back to just being absolutely rock solid. Do you know what I mean? And grind. I fully expect us to grind out a 1-0 against Leicester. I don't think it's going to be, you know, a return to us banging in the goals. I think it's going to be a very, you know, it's been said so many times this season, but a very mature performance after the utter chaos that was last week. You know, Jurgen's going to want an absolutely solid, mature, grown-up, professional performance. We can't be shipping 2-3 goals. That's a madness.
The last few fixtures against Leicester have actually been quite tight as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think you can get into the habit of underplaying the opposition, or sometimes overplaying them. But what we've seen from Leicester, very strong on the counter, good in the air, very, very good balanced midfield with a bit of everything. You know, Ndidi to break up play, Maddison to set the tempo and create. But they've been so inconsistent. They lost at Wolves in one of the best matches I've seen in a while, in terms of like sheer craziness. They lost at home to Southampton. They lost to Cardiff in between beating Everton and Manchester City. So you never really actually know what you're going to get with Leicester. Andy, what are you expecting?
There's a couple of things here. So the manner in which they lost the Wolves game, so people talk about momentum in football, and you know, and they talk about momentum as if it's always positive, when actually it can be negative. In the manner in which you lose games, they can just absolutely kill you stone dead. I mean, they lost 4-3 to Wolves. I think it would have felt better for them just to get beat 3 or 4-0. You know, just the manner in which the game went, to get themselves back into it. Massive blow. Pool's a bit of the weird one, because as you said, he's had some really good results. But then you know they've dropped points where you think that, you know, they should be competing, and he's under a little bit of pressure. I'd be looking to take advantage of the Wolves result, because I think psychologically that'll still be in the system. And I think it's the type of game that if Liverpool score, I'm not saying we will, but if Liverpool score early, I think there's a possibility there that, I wouldn't say cricket score, but we can get 3 and 4. Just going back to the Palace game, because I don't know whether I'm being overly harsh, but given the standards that he set, do you think Alisson could have done better with the first and the third?
I think I think he'd expect
by his own
that,
standards.
Yeah, by his own standards, he wouldn't have been happy with himself. And I think that's I don't think it matters what anyone else thinks. I think, you know, him personally, he wouldn't have been happy. But I think the management of the game flew out the window, and that's what I think, because game management has been so critical to everything Liverpool have done, actually since the back end of last season, not even taking this season into account. And they'll want to get back to that. with Leicester, it's, I think, quite common knowledge that the dressing room's not happy with the manager, which then creates an odd environment because, you know, the thing with Leicester is historically they've been a team that will battle. They'll give you a rough time of it, even if you do win. And if they're not really completely up to battle if things aren't going their way, then it will work in Liverpool's favour, Jay.
Yeah, I think we've just got to go out there, as James said before, and, you know, just do our job. Think to ourselves, do our job. And I think maybe, you know, if there is a questioner, you know, I used to think this about Glenn Johnson. When Glenn Johnson was playing left back for Liverpool, it almost had to sharpen his mind. Glenn Johnson always played better, I think, when he played left back, because it's like he had to concentrate on doing his job. And I think, you know, if we've got a question here about right back, maybe it's focusing the mind, saying this isn't a given for us. Leicester's going to be hard. We're going to have to be on our game. So the midfield are thinking, right, I'm going to have to, you know, help out the right back if it's Camacho or Hoover or someone like that. You know, I'm going to have to do that. You know, got to take your chances, sharpen the mind, and get them into the thing. Right, we've got to just do what we need to do to win this game. So if we get a chance, we've got to be on our game and stuff like that. And I think there's again, coming back to the fans thing, where I think we are both in this together. I think the fans have got to be patient on that. Leicester might be hard. You know, we've had 9 days off. That Palace thing might still be in our system. The players might be a bit frustrated and wanting to, you know, Alisson have proved themselves. So if it's not quite going our way, don't be getting, you know, anxious and stuff like that. And I think I can see him then picking a midfield that does more work to maybe outwork Leicester. So I think Henderson, you know, plays. Ronaldo, providing he's okay, plays, because he's thinking, right, I want to outwork these. I think, you know, I want to control the game, even if we don't score, even if we don't look.
Or isn't there a flip side to that though? So you talk about Leicester, and Mel's quite right, saying that, you know, there's not all behind the scenes is particularly going well. And I just think Leicester might be in the mindset where if a 0-0 they're still in the game, but I think if they go 1-0 down early, they'll take any excuse just to.
Possibly so, but the thing with Leicester and even the teams, you know, below 6th or 7th now, they're really, I don't know where Wolves are, I think Wolves might be 7th, but they're a bit more consistent. The Leicester and the West Hams and the Brightons and stuff like that are so inconsistent. They're so, like, you'd look at them fixtures there, and I'm looking at who Leicester have got next. Us, United, Spurs, Palace, Brighton. I'm looking at that thinking they're going to beat one of us, United or Spurs. They're then going to get battered by Palace or something, then they're going to beat Brighton, and their fans are just going to be going, what on earth are you doing? Because that's the way they've been, Leicester. They're not, they put in a performance, you know, they've got the players that can do it. So, you know, if Leicester get on the front foot, you know, and think they've got a bit of space, so I can see us having a hard work in midfield, covering the right back, just sort of saying them to us, we're going, you can't play in the counter attack, you can't use your pace to get behind us. What are you going to do now? You know, and then that might happen, and they get frustrated. But I think it comes to that other bit of it's saying to your front three, right, you know, you got to take your chances. Your chance comes in the box, get a shot off, you know, try and get that goal and see if their heads go then, because you don't know which Leicester you'll get. I think, you know, I'm more sure what West Ham will get going into the West Ham game. I think they just play a certain way, whereas Leicester, because of the nature of the players and, you know, the ongoing thing where they seem to dislike every manager after a couple of seasons. They're like the reverse of Mourinho, aren't they? Mourinho falls out with his players. You know, these players actively look to fall out with a manager. So I think they, you know, you try and get a result, you try and go up early against Leicester and see how they react. But, you know, equally Leicester could come out and say, well, you know what, we're going to try and put on a show.
I think we're lucky that he hasn't been sacked, to be honest, because I think had
the new manager bounce. We've been on the wrong end of that as well.
Because we talk about mentally with Liverpool, but think about like Leicester's mental attitude if they don't want to play for the manager, and they're coming up against the team that's top of the league, and they're just thinking, I can't be bothered with this. And I think if Puel would have got sacked last week, I think we'd see a different Leicester to what we're going to face this week. And I think, don't forget that Leicester away game, by the way, because it was one of the worst games I've seen us play this season, yet we won.
Yeah.
But that was a slog. And I think it's different because we're at home. And I think, like I say, I think the mentality of Leicester at the start of the season is completely different to where they're at now. But this is an opportunity now, because I know we're trying to be a bit respectful to Leicester because of the players they've got and the way that they can play. But the form that they're in now, we need to absolutely capitalise on this. And I think one of the things that we're talking about with selection, with Palace, I think conceding the 3 goals was harsh, but I think as well there was a lot of Klopp's hand. I felt like Klopp's hand was forced he had no choice but to play, Naby Keita where he played Naby Keita, and it might be the same against Leicester, and it's like Jay said, it's a mental hurdle. So if we have to play Camacho at right back, that has to happen. It might be that Fabinho's out still injured. Obviously, Milner's suspended, so that leaves us no choice than Henderson, Gini, Keita.
Yeah, there might be midfield shuffles as well, because we have no idea whether, it's a day-by-day thing with Wijnaldum, which to me says that he's, he might be fine, but it might be a risk. And I don't think how many risks Liverpool are willing to take. Probably more than usual because of the breaks that they've got, but I don't think, if it's not absolutely necessary, I can't see them taking risks. We spoke a lot about fans in the first part of the show, and so Neil Atkinson has spoken to Ian Byrne, who's doing a very, very good thing, and I think something that we should all subscribe to. There's an initiative led by the fans to keep Anfield tidy.
Joined by Ian Byrne, he often comes on here to talk about food bank related stuff, but this is a bit different, although it is still impacting the local community. Ian's a councillor for Everton, and we're talking about the area of Anfield. Ian, it's Liverpool, the club as a whole, we've had a bit of a strange relationship with Anfield a couple of times, different ownerships, different sort of attitudes towards the area. I think, though, you're pulling together at the minute a little grassroots initiative about Liverpool supporters and their relationship with Anfield.
Yeah, spot on. There's been a strained relationship, shall we say, between the club and the local residents, and there's a lot of dynamic to that. But for this instance, what we've just tried to do is basically tell the supporter groups, come to Anfield, enjoy Anfield, it's a wonderful place, enjoy the football, enjoy the pubs, the pie shops, as you said, the chippies, the whole game experience, but just also remember that it is more to Anfield than just be at the football stadium. And this grassroots initiative, which is supported by Spirit of Shankly, Spy and Cop, fan support on food banks and cop outs, it's just to show that the local residents that the supporters do care, the supporter base does care, and we pull this together just to educate our fans who come from far and wide that Anfield it's a wonderful place, but also it's a wonderful place to live as well.
It's long been, it's Anfield itself. The one day there will be someone will write a terrific social history of the area of Anfield, because in many ways its ups and downs have to some degree mirrored. If you see Anfield as a whole, not just the area directly by the ground, Anfield including L5, not just L4.
Absolutely.
A little bit, it's mirrored a lot of what's sort of happened in the city, right the way through. And it's worth remembering that, isn't it? When it is, it is and was, and part of the sheer energy that, for instance, charges Shankly's Liverpool late 50s into the 60s was the energy of Anfield and that community itself as a place where people lived.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, so we're just starting to urge supporters that obviously we go to the stadium, we show appreciation and respect to the team, and that should filter out to actually the neighbours who actually support the club. And there's a press statement going out, so we're putting it out on Monday, and it's about unity. Unity is strength, and I think we need as much unity in the area as we can at the moment. And it's just, and I say it come from, there was a residents meeting, and the Liverpool representative was getting a little bit of stick from local residents about some of the littering, little pockets of antisocial behaviour, and he thought that as fans, potentially we needed to bring Kingdom in. And I was horrified. Obviously, that's before we got rid of Kingdom, thank the Lord, but they were actually contemplating bringing a company like Kingdom in, which I thought would have been absolutely so detrimental to having them walking around Anfield. So I thought, well,
the relationships between supporters, community, club, it would have just caused so much bother.
So much bother, wouldn't it? It would have caused so much bad press. It would have caused so much ill feeling. It just was not the right way to go. So I said to him, just let's hang fire and let's see if we can get the supporter groups to come together, send out a message. And hopefully this will resonate. This program's usually important for that, to get that message out to fans who are coming in, and just remember that it's a wonderful place. Enjoy it, but just treat it like you treat your own. Your own home. You'd expect people who are coming into your areas to treat it.
And also there's sort of a wider conversation about Anfield and the city. We all know the links could be a little bit better. Yeah. We all know that the area of Anfield itself will maybe be better served with feeling that there is a close proximity to the city centre, but it could do with that being sort of underlined at times. But also saying to people that Anfield could be part of your full day experience. That Absolutely. This is, but we need to therefore cherish Anfield, and that's there's lots of good stuff going on. There's more and more businesses opening up in Anfield that go around match match day. You know, we go and record our post-match show at Hotel Tier and we're pleased to do so. But it's good to feel as though Anfield gets to be the centre of all of this.
Yeah, and I know you can see the grassroots recovery, can't you? From home big to tier. There's a number of really good businesses coming through, which is joyful. No, tier is just a wonderful place to be, isn't it? You know, it's at the top of our road. I'm going there. I'm lucky I can go in there for the bevy on a Friday night and see what they've actually tagged in and the company have done there. But this is just, and I say, we didn't want to top down dictate from the club, so it just doesn't resonate if the club tell supporters to behave. So all we're just saying is to supporters, just always bear it in mind that, you know, these people, we live in the area. I live 4 streets from Anfield. We love the club. Well, I do. It might be a different opinion there, but you love the club being in the vicinity. It can be a real asset for our community, but the club sometimes haven't lived up to that. But, you know, hopefully things are just changing.
But we've got to live up to it as well. So there's times where we don't want the club to be heavy-handed, so therefore we've got to behave better. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's give and take.
It's give and take. And the club have been great with regards to what they've done. There's definitely an improvement with regard to cleaning, straight after the match. There's a number of Portaloos, there must be over 70 odd now around the ground. We told them that they needed that sort of thing. So the club have actually bought into this, so they're having a go. So all we're asking now football fans is for our fans is just to do the same, and just always bear it in mind that, you know, it is a home for a lot of people, and just respect that.
Thank you very much to Ian. Let's bear the message in mind.
So we've spoken about the Leicester game, and since the players had an opportunity to sit back and look at the bigger picture, I thought we could do the same. There have been reports this week that Liverpool have invested over 200 million in the squad and keeping it intact in terms of all the contract extensions that we've seen recently. And that the club, you know, therein are unlikely to pay blockbuster fees like we've seen, you know, in January and the summer with Virgil van Dijk coming in, Alisson, Fabinho. And I noticed that, you know, there was a bit of kickoff over that. But that actually makes sense, because if you go through Liverpool's squad, there's not a massive... You don't need to go and drop like 80 million on if you've already got one of the best goalkeepers in the world, if not, you know, on current form, probably say the best in Europe, the best centre-back in the world. Your front three are those three. And you've got variety in midfield. There's, you know, in terms of massive mega fees, there's not much you can improve on there, Lizzie.
No, I don't think so. I think the club have been really, really smart. I think you look back and there's been a couple of comparisons in the last week or two of Raheem Sterling and what happened there a couple of years ago, and it just doesn't seem to be the same club dealing with it. It seems like the club have matured and sort of realised what they need, and like you said, if you've already got the best, why are you out looking for more? And tying those players down to a contract is just as good a signing as signing an £80 million, you know, midfielder, because we've got what we believe is the best, and I know contracts don't mean, you know, as much these days. Loyalty isn't all there, but it's an intention. It's a clear intention set out by the club. No nonsense. This is what we want. This is what we're going to pursue, and we've got our first 11 pretty much, so then it's just the ones that come in behind them.
And, the supplements.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I would be surprised if Liverpool went spending a ton of money on someone. It would make me nervous, because I'd be thinking, who's going? Why are we spending that much money? So I'm absolutely not fuming. I'm not questioning it. I expected January to be quiet. Maybe argument's sake, you could have brought someone in to help with the injuries, but then, you know, we've seen the Stephen Culker a couple of years ago who ends up playing centre forward. I'm really happy with the way that the club's going and the way that they're negotiating deals and keeping the players on, and it does help that Liverpool are winning. It does help that we're probably guaranteed Champions League again, and that is a factor. You can't ignore that. But no, fair play to the club for what they're doing.
It feels like for the first time in a long time this season, it feels like there's a huge amount of harmony between the owners and the manager and the players, and all that noise that you can hear is the other show being recorded next door. But yeah, it feels like there's a huge amount of harmony. And also, you know, we're dining at the top table for the first time in a long time as well. There's not many players in the world that wouldn't want to come and play for this Liverpool team, for this manager. And that puts us in a huge position of strength. And also the way that we've gone about our business in the past 12, 18 months, we haven't had, it doesn't seem to me anyway like there's been a plan B and a plan C, different options of players. It seems like we're very much, that's the one player that we want and we're prepared to wait or we're prepared to pay over the odds. So make no mistake, Jurgen Klopp's already identified exactly who he wants, if anyone at all. So that's why it's been so quiet. Is there's not a case being made for, well, we need a couple of lads in for cover. That's not the way this club seem to do their business now. It's much more a sense of, that's the fella that we want. He might be 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever it is, but that's the only player that we want and we're prepared to wait for him. And right now we're in a huge position of strength, top of the league. There's an excitement, there's almost a glamour about Liverpool that I don't think we've had for a while. And that's why I just don't think there's going to be anyone coming in, and I think the balance is perfect with this squad. Look, it's all about managing the injuries and it's about managing the squad. But for the first time, we've got a huge squad of super talented players. You couldn't name many players, I don't think, that you wouldn't want starting right now.
To be honest, I find it curious. Not to say I disagree. I just find why the club felt the need to put that message out. Curious. Is it to send a message to other clubs to say, look, we're not going to overpay? Is it to send a message to the squad saying, look, we believe in you, we're not looking at anyone else, we're going to stick with you guys? Was it...
You're such a cynic.
No, but you don't.
I haven't joined in yet.
You don't.
I'm just saying.
What I'm saying, clubs put messages out like that for a reason.
Yeah.
They don't just do it off their own bat. What I will say is, at the same time, if I don't believe for 1 second that if the right player came on the market,
absolutely.
Liverpool wanted,
I don't think anyone's arguing
whether
with
it
that,
was
though.
£10 million or £100 million, Liverpool wouldn't go and do it. Saying that, where it does make sense, and I still don't get why they put the message out. You look at Real Madrid, you look at Bayern Munich, you look at Barcelona. The nucleus of their squad is the same nucleus that they've had for 5 and 6 seasons.
Yeah.
So they've put the spine in and gone, right, that's what we're going to deal with. Real Madrid, 4 out of the last 5 seasons, have actually booked a net profit on transfers, which is mad when you think about it. And then you look at the numbers that came out last week. I think Barcelona are similar because of the Neymar thing. And you look at the Coutinho struggle at the minute at Barcelona, and it shows you only need the Iniesta not being there anymore, how much that one player has changed for them. And it's curious. So, yeah, I can kind of believe that. And then you look at the wage figures, the Deloitte money thing that came out last week. Barcelona, Real Madrid's wage bills, absolutely astronomical.
Yeah.
So you can see where that money goes in. But if you give me the option, and I'm not saying it's as black and white as this, but if you said to me right now, we can either commit £100 million to these 5 players for the next 5 years, or we can go and sign someone else for £100 million. Now, well, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
What I will say is, as much as Liverpool have been spending money off the pitch commercially, they've been doing fantastically well. I know they're going to book £100 million net profit when the accounts come out in March. I even know that needs further explaining, which is some of the research I'm doing about how transfer fees are allocated, blah 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 blah. So yeah, so to put a button on it, I agree with it, but I'm just curious as to why they've come out with that message.
Well, I agree with some of your points around why they might have done it. Sends a statement to players. I think it says, well, us not overpaying. Shows you're supporting them and stuff like that. I think it's come out in or around the same time that they knew this Deloitte stuff was going to start coming out. We're making all this money. I think it's probably to put a bit of a thing in the idea that we're not spending in January. I agree with the idea of maybe saying this to say we don't need to sign no one in January. This was our intention in this transfer window or this period where the club's at. I think, though, given the conversation we've just had about strength in depth, the conversation we've just had about City having more than one first 11, Liverpool should be aspiring to that. Liverpool should be aspiring to say, that our bench, we're going to pull a De Bruyne off the bench, that we're going to have a Bernardo Silva on the bench like City have got, or a Mahrez and stuff like that, players off the bench, because they get injured. Also, I want Liverpool to be the best. I love all these lads. But there's a better Virgil van Dijk. How dare go ahead, we'll have him.
Oh, no,
Make him a Virgil. Look at the thing we've seen from a Genie. You know, by the players we brought in, we have seen a noticeable improvement in players.
I agree with you 100%, and I think the minute you stop trying to improve is the minute you go backwards. There's no standing still in football.
But I think the fans will read that, and the devil's advocate side, it's not.
Oh, I can't wait for March. I can't wait for March social media when those results come out.
There's a devil's advocate bit about it, is the club's making more money than ever before, and the 200 million isn't strictly true, is it? Because they're saying they've, earmarked 200 million for these players, but they'd already earmarked tens of millions towards them players. It's not like...
Yeah, it's not fresh 200 million, is it?
These players haven't all had a 200 million pounds,
no.
Pay increase, because that would be boss, but they just haven't. But, so they were already maybe getting paid 150 million, and there's been an increase, and I get that, and I understand why that headline number is always important, but I think fans, and I expect what Melissa said there, that the idea that a player will be available, Liverpool will go for them. But also the ballpark figure now for a player has changed. Naby Keita was 50 million, and he hasn't quite hit the ground running for some people's things. Neves, Fabinho, but on Alisson at 70 million does, and on Van Dijk at 75 million does. So I think people are now thinking, well, the ball mark for a player to just come in and just play and just slot right in it. Maybe it's 60 million now. So it's a Mahrez kind of fee. It's that level of fee. So it works the other way. We've got £20 million for Dominic Solanke. Well, it probably means we're never going to get a player like Shaqiri again for 13 million kind of thing. So I suppose it's what people see as blockbuster. I don't think we're just going to go and throw money out there, but I would like to think that Liverpool are thinking to themselves, there is that player in the summer, there's that player we've got in mind, whether it's to compete with or, replace one of the front three at some point. I'm sure they all play for Liverpool, but, we're not saying that if it did or didn't happen. I think you're right. You have a spine of the team. Man United had this, Barcelona had this, but they were successful teams. So if Liverpool becomes successful, then players want to stay. If it's a bit indifferent,
but that's why you need to keep on top of it, Jay. That's what I'm saying.
I think you're thinking to yourselves in the summer, we'll go on, let's sign this other player that maybe competes with Mane. Mane's good. I think there's parts of his game he can improve. But do you think, well, let's buy him and let's compete in with Mane, and then if Mane does fancy a move somewhere else, if someone came in for him, we've got a replacement ready. I think you've got to keep... The problem Liverpool have had in the past is where they believe we're there, we've reached our destination. Whereas our destination should be somewhere way into the future of being a multiple league and Champions League winner in the next 10 years.
But Jay, the other side of this is the pool of players that would improve Liverpool as Liverpool gets better. As it gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and that's why you need big fees.
So I think what you'll see from Liverpool over the next couple of windows is they'll go for the best kids in Europe, which they've demonstrated, and you'll see more the Shakiris can get those deals done. What I think you won't see anymore is your Stewie Downings, your middle of the road signings. So it's either going to be absolutely elite top end or about to be top end, because the way the markets, the way Michael Edwards does his analysis, the players they believe will be absolutely world class, or the likes of Shakiris, or brilliant kids, not like 26, 27-year-old Jenny.
I think Liverpool's thing is it's one player at a time. So if it's one player a window, that improves us continuously to midfield the next time it's an attack or whatever. That's our thing.
I think Liverpool, I think if we can question why the message has come out and all that stuff, but what we can't question is Liverpool have shown a willingness to pay whatever fee it takes to get the players that they 100% believe improve the squad and make Liverpool title challengers and a force in Europe. We also talk about the money Liverpool are making, but they're making this money because they operate smarter now, because they're not squandering fees on anyone and everyone and, working on so many different sort of strategies. It's all joined up thinking that have led us to this point. I think we also forget that we didn't sign Roberto Firmino as an elite forward. We made Roberto Firmino what he is. Mohamed Salah didn't come to Liverpool as a 44-goal phenom. He's become that here. Andy Robertson. Sometimes people always assume ambition is pay a big fee and that's ambition. That's not. Keeping your best players at the club, that's a sign of ambition.
But Man City's best players, Mel, how much do they pay for them? Company?
Exactly.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Sergio Aguero.
Fernandinho, who now everyone thinks is the absolute glue for Manchester City. I
Even
think
De Bruyne now looks like a bargain.
It's identifying that one player and going, that's who we want.
But I think the thing, just to say before everyone does batter me who watches this or listens to this or Jay's being said, I'm not. I was playing devil's advocate on some of them points, but I think it's good for Liverpool to understand why fans might think like that, because the club now pitches itself, and I think there's an interesting thing though about the stuff like Paul Joyce's piece on this, and I think the stuff you've done recently, where I think, some of the long reads, one of the criticisms I've had of Liverpool and fans have had of Liverpool in the past is we don't understand why they're doing stuff. And I think people used to think I wanted Tom Werner or Mike Gordon to sit there and answer questions on LFC TV. I don't want them to probably answer them on this, but I wanted them to articulate what their vision is, and now I get the feeling they're doing that smartly. They're talking about what they're doing and why, and they're getting that information out there without doing a look at us kind of thing, which is quite important. But fans will look at this and say, I want us to continue to strive to be successful, and I don't want us to think that because we're having a really good season like we had under Rodgers. I think there was a feeling amongst at the time that Liverpool had cheated. Liverpool had found a cheat to get to the top and nearly win the league, and I think there was a feeling there'd be a danger with some of this stuff if it's seen a certain way, is that this looks like we're trying to say, oh, we found the solution now, and it was buying these kinds of players, and now we're at this level and we'll stay here. I think Liverpool's thing's got to be like what you said and expand on it and talk about saying, no, now it's like, if you win the league or the Champions League, it's like, let's the next step, let's win 3 of these in the next 5 years, let's win loads of these trophies and have players who are maybe at the top end of the tier then are desperate to come for us. So that reduces the fee, so it's no longer just saying we want to sign this player who maybe doesn't want to leave. It's maybe a player who's saying, I'm not going to sign that contract extension because I do want to join Liverpool then, and we save money that way. It'd be nice to see.
I think as well, to go devil's advocate on the January transfer window is, fans seeing Van Dijk.
We're not having an earthquake, by the way.
And Heaton's just sat out.
Aye.
Fans seeing Van Dijk, signing.
This is being filmed,
Hates him out there, didn't they? Sorry,
That was brutal and wildly unnecessary.
And also,
Wait, that was a proper narrator voice that way.
and also inaccurate, James.
Sorry.
Back to my January point, Jay McKenna. Stop being a child. Van Dijk signed last year in January, 75 million. We've seen a big move last January. We've seen Oxlade-Chamberlain come in last year. And that statement of intent got us to where we were, to the Champions League final. So I think the devil's advocate in terms of what the fans might think, even though the club is coming out and announcing all these signings, maybe to say, listen, we know what we're doing. We're tying down these players. We're keeping these players. But then some fans might be thinking, but hold on, you went out and spent loads of money on Virgil van Dijk last year and look where we got. We're in a title race, a very realistic title race for the first time in God knows how long. And, we're not soft. Like, Lovren and Matip aren't up to the standard that we want them to be. So had there been a player identified, would it not be the right time to bring them in rather than just waiting and seeing what happens? Because actually we've got the best shot at winning the league that we've had. So why aren't we bringing in players?
It sounds so easy when you say it like
does,
that.
and
Transfers are the most complicated thing.
It's what Andy said before about the pool of players gets smaller. So you can't
pluck them out of thin air.
Do you know what I mean?
You can't.
We probably have identified a new centre back that I'd be very, very surprised if we haven't. Maybe even 2. But it's a very, very small pool of players, and you have it's patience.
But it's why this discussion is quite important, and it's sort of making those points on both sides. As Melissa said, we know it's hard, and lots of fans, when you sit and talk to them about it, will know it's hard. And I think it's where Liverpool have been smart talking about the challenges of how you're identifying and signing players, because I think people appreciate that. Oh, hang on, this isn't as straightforward. But I bet you loads of fans, I've seen it on internet forums, I've seen it on social media, saying the same thing of, oh, let's bring forward the summer signing into January because we need someone, as if like it's just saying, oh, well, someone wants to sign Bobby Firmino and it's just give it to one of them now, lads. But we do, because what we do is, and the point, and this is why it's quite important for us to talk about it and pitch both sides, is largely what we do as fans is entirely irrational. We go and watch a load of millionaires kick a ball around the pitch for 90 minutes, every few days. And then we try and apply reason to it and say, well, why wouldn't the player do this? Because it's largely irrational. You're being irrational then, and now you'd expect transfers to do. But I think the club is understanding that, but I just think that's why that 200 million thing could be seen there'll be two trains of thought on that from fans. Liverpool are being very smart, they're being clever, they're building for the future, and then there'll be others who'll be going, well, that's not enough, I want more. And I think there's just a bit of context missing in what they said.
I think one thing I will say to the club, there's a lot more clarity about what they're doing compared to what they were doing a couple of years ago. And also, you mentioned the centre half specifically when you say, all right, Lovren, Matt, whatever. But what does it say to these young kids you're trying to bring in? What does it say to Joe Gomez, who's had a great season? Do you know what I mean? So we've gone out and signed Hova a couple of months ago, and within a couple of months he's in the first team albeit in a cup game. But then you can then go demonstrate that's the other best kids in Europe. We just signed this Cometio, the French centre half, and he could. You're not telling me he hasn't looked at what's happened with Hova and gone, if I'm good enough.
Gomez, he's looking at Joe Gomez, think I can be
there's a pathway there. And I think for the first time in a long time, we've kind of put ourselves near the front of the queue for the best of these kids.
Yeah.
It's not like Liverpool are unearthing these kids. Every club with half-decent scouting departments in Europe knows who these kids are.
Yeah. And know from the time they're about 12, 11, 12, like,
the
follow
kids
them.
getting them to choose you, rather than the likes of Real Madrid. I mean, who was that Norwegian kid a couple of years ago? Who signed for Real Madrid?
Odegaard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right, it hasn't worked out for him, but now, we never really had any real hope of getting him in. Now, if the same situation was around, you'd think we'd have a slight chance of beating other teams to the punch.
Right, that's been the Anfield Wrap. Today's show was in partnership with redsbet.com. Thanks to them and thanks to our guests. The football is nearly back. Hang in there.
Yay.
Hope you enjoy it.